But the world, you see, like, is a vast place.
You know, the continent, we've been able to do some dope stuff. You know?
Dans le rap africain, bien sûr, surtout.
There's the movement of hip-hop, R&B music, house music, all that coming out of not only South Africa, but the continent in general is just amazing right now.
I was surprised how big this scene is in Africa. When I did a tour over there, and the DJ before me played so many hip-hop records and so many Afrobeats, both that I never heard before, but had the club rocking. That is such a huge scene.
C'est le hip-hop en tant que culture ou en tant que musique, si on parle du rap, dans une certaine partie du monde, aux États-Unis peut-être, les gens samplaient du funk, enfin de la musique de chez eux, si tu veux. Nous, on a fait pareil avec les ingrédients de chez nous.
Regardless where you from, you know, it's where you at.
Comfortably sitting on my sofa, smoking, floating on this fine air, reflecting on the storm. So far, I'm so far from where I come from, so far from it home. Hip-hop in Burundi traces its origins to the 90s. The country's youth were drawn to the genre's energy, storytelling, and ability to reflect the hardships and realities they were living. Burundi, not unlike many East African nations, was experiencing significant political and economic challenges during this time, such as the Burundian Civil War from 1993 to 2005 due to ethnic conflicts. These conditions created fertile ground for hip-hop's rise as a form of social expression and protest. After the end of the Civil War in 2005, Burundi entered a period of recovery and hip-hop became a central part of youth culture. During that time, hip-hop gained more traction in Burundi, with its youth being more active in a culture that they, for the most part, just appreciated up until now. Still heavily influenced by American rap, many Burundian hip-hop artists began blending local languages such as Kirundi and French with traditional Burundian rhythms and instruments, walking in the same steps as other African countries prior. Such transitions and other factors like the local media providing platforms for hip-hop helped the genre reach a wider audience. Rappers in post-war Burundi tackle all the country's issues such as economic struggles, ethnic conflicts, hope for peace, instability, unemployment, and insecurity. As the years progressed, hip-hop music and culture got blended with many local and African elements and rhythm, creating a fusion that is sometimes hard to categorize as purely hip-hop. The music of mainstream artists in Burundi, such as Big Fizzo, is a good example of that. Though the country is smaller and less internationally recognized in the global hip-hop scene, the genre has found a strong and passionate following among the youth, particularly in urban areas like the capital, Bujumbura. Hip-hop in Comoros began to take shape in the early 2000s. The youth in the Three Islands country discovered the genre as it became mainstream in other French-speaking countries. Hip-hop made its way in Comoros thanks to media outlets and its diaspora in countries like France. Despite coming late to the islands, the genre was quickly adopted by its youth. Early Comorian hip-hop artists started by mimicking popular American rap styles and soon began to infuse their music with local languages such as Shingazija, the island's most widely spoken language, Arabic and French, reflecting the island's multicultural environment. The genre was still timid in the 2000s, and it's not before the 2010s that it started to evolve into a more distinct genre on its own, with local artists adopting hip-hop to deliver their message. A message which, for the most part, include local issues such as economic hardship, lack of youth opportunity, cultural identity, or religion due to the country's history. Hip-hop in Comoros is relatively young, and its place in the country's musical industry reflects that. Other, most traditional genres takes much of the music space, such as Mwagogo and Tarab, as well as the phenomenon Afrobeat. For these reasons, the local scene is relatively small. However, hip-hop from Comoros made a name for itself thanks to its diaspora, particularly in France, with the likes of Rof, Soprano, or Alonso. As for Djibouti, hip-hop began to gain popularity in the early 2000s, influenced by both the global spread of American rap and the diverse cultural landscape of the country. Djibouti, located at the crossroads of Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, and Europe, has always been exposed to a wide range of musical styles. This mix of influences contributed to a distinctive local form of hip-hop that blends French, Arabic, and other East African sounds. The genre had a growing impact with the youth from urban areas, particularly Francophone hip-hop, and gained popularity during the 2010s. Local artists used the genre mostly for entertainment, but with time, they started addressing local issues such as social justice, issues of corruption, and youth empowerment, as well as cultural diversity and identity. Forward today, hip-hop in Djibouti is quite small and relatively underground. It is difficult to predict the direction the genre will take in the country, but it is definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Hip-hop culture in Eritrea began to take shape in the 90s, influenced by global trends in American hip-hop as well as other African hip-hop scenes, particularly in neighboring countries like Ethiopia and Sudan. By incorporating the country's Tigrinya and Arabic languages, Eritrean hip-hop developed in a similar way from other East African countries while keeping an original sound. Despite its access to the genre, the voice and reach of hip-hop was limited from the get-go, as Eritrea has had an history of limited right and heavy censorship from the authorities, which is probably the toughest on the continent. Due to this authoritarian control, information about the country doesn't easily reach outside its borders, and non-mainstream movements like hip-hop are barely allowed to exist. In that context, hip-hop artists in this country tackle these issues, but to a certain extent, as they fear repercussions. On another hand, others who adopted the genre make it more entertaining as they feel that the population is in need of more of it. The lack of opportunity leads to a constant increase of youth immigration, limiting the growth of hip-hop in the country. Popular hip-hop artists in the country generally comes from neighboring countries like Ethiopia. The future of hip-hop in Eritrea remains uncertain, primarily due to the country's political climate and the stalemate it's been in since it started to spawn. Hip-hop first made its way into Ethiopia in the early 90s, primarily through Western rap music. The genre quickly gained popularity among the youth, who were drawn to its energy and the cultural relevance of rap's themes such as struggle, resilience, and social justice. Ethiopia, a country with a rich history and diverse cultures, had a mix of traditional music such as eskita, a form of Ethiopian dance music, Western pop, and Arabian influences, which provided a fertile ground for the fusion of global hip-hop with local sounds. The interest for hip-hop in Ethiopia increased during the 90s, while the genre remained underground and its culture not fully explored. In the 2000s, Ethiopian hip-hop began to gain traction with young artists in cities like Addis Ababa, the capital, Dire Dawa, and Mekele, who began experimenting with local languages like Amharic, Oromo, and Tigrinya, blending them with hip-hop's global language of English and French, while also incorporating traditional Ethiopian rhythms and instrumentation such as the kra or masinko with hip-hop beats, giving it that local flavor that made it resonate with more Ethiopians. Ethiopian hip-hop began to address various themes such as government corruption, poverty, economic inequality, youth unemployment, human rights, cultural identity and heritage, ethnic and regional diversity, etc. The 2000s-2010 period saw the rise of many Ethiopian rappers who managed to make an impact in and out the country. These include the likes of Teddy, considered by many as the most influential Ethiopian rapper, Lige Michael, who had a similar impact, Mad Boys, who had a considerable impact, as well as Jukebox. Today, the Ethiopian hip-hop scene is well established, and its big diaspora is also making waves outside the country, particularly in the UK and US. Amongst the most popular, we can name the like of Amine and Lola Monroe. Hip-hop in Ethiopia has come a long way from its introduction in the early 90s to its current place as a dynamic and vital form of cultural expression. The genre reflects the country's deep history, its diverse cultures, and the experiences of young Ethiopians navigating a rapidly changing world. While challenges remain, particularly in terms of political freedom and economic barriers, the future of Ethiopian hip-hop looks promising as it remains a central platform for the nation's youth culture. The 90s and 2000s saw the rise of hip-hop in many East African countries, and Kenya is no exception by being exposed to the cultural movement in the early 90s. The genre first emerged in the coastal region of the country, in areas like Mombasa, and then other regions like the capital Nairobi. Many early figures had an impact of making the movement more accessible, such as Poxy Pressure or the group Kalamashaka. Early Kenyan hip-hop artists emerged in a tense social climate, and with their music infusing elements of Kenyan identity like the Kiswahili and Sheng languages mixed with English, they started expressing themselves on topics that were relatable to the Kenyan youth of that time. In the late 90s and early 2000s, other local rap groups and individual artists began to gain recognition in Kenya, such as the duo K-Soft, which helped establish the foundation for Kenyan hip-hop before disbanding in the mid-2000s. Other key pioneers included artists like Nonini and other artists of that period who became important figures in the Swahili rap and Kenyan hip-hop scenes. By the mid-2000s, hip-hop in Kenya had transitioned from an underground subculture to a mainstream genre. Artists began to gain airtime on both local radio stations and television channels, leading to an increased exposure for hip-hop in the broader Kenyan music scene. Many emerged during this period with a lasting impact, such as Calligraph Jones, one of the most successful and well-known Kenyan rappers, along with artists like Octopizzo and others. These artists helped popularize Kenyan hip-hop, attracting both local and international attention. As the hip-hop culture in Kenya grew, the music evolved into distinct sub-genres, with some artists opting for the traditional hip-hop sound, while others adopted commercial sounds, blending hip-hop with Afrobeat, dancehall and pop influences to appeal to a broader audience. Kenyan hip-hop became increasingly more diverse in terms of musical style, thematic content, and linguistic expression, marking a difference with the dominant serious tone of the genre up to this point. A good example to illustrate the difference both sonically and aesthetically, showcasing the diversity of Kenyan rap during this period, can be done by comparing the rapper King Kaka and the promising group Camp Mula, who both came to prominence during the early 2010s. While Kenyan hip-hop has gained significant mainstream popularity, artists still face issues like censorship, particularly when their music addresses sensitive political topics. Also, the lack of opportunities in the industry, as the genre is constantly growing with many young Kenyans attempting to make a career out of it, or other problems like competition with other popular genres like bongo flava, Afrobeat and dancehall. Hip-hop in Kenya has come a long way since its early underground days in the 90s. Today, it is a mainstream genre that reflects the struggles and hope of Kenyans youth. Through its unique blend of local languages, African rhythms and global hip-hop influences, Kenyan hip-hop has carved out a distinctive space in the global music scene. Despite different challenges, the genre is in a good place and continues to thrive and evolve. Hip-hop approximately began to gain a foothold in Madagascar during the 90s. Since then, hip-hop in Madagascar grew in popularity and a few local artists began to experiment with it using the Malagasy languages, including the widely spoken Malagasy dialects like Meruna and Betsimisaraka, alongside French and English, creating a distinctive sound that was both local and global in appeal. By the early 2000s, Malagasy hip-hop began to grow more visible on the national stage. Local rap groups and individual artists started performing in clubs and on radio stations in the capital. The genre's popularity was propelled by the rapid urbanization of Madagascar, which brought many young people from rural areas into cities where they were exposed to more diverse musical influences, including hip-hop. The Malagasy youth was attracted by the energy of hip-hop, its rebellious spirit, emphasis on individual expression, records, and naturally emulated it. From the 2010 up until now, hip-hop in Madagascar didn't evolve much. The genre sure gained in popularity, but remains a sub-genre of the Malagasy music scene. Despite some artists achieving success with a few tracks, the local scene lacks of notorious figures. As of today, the Malagasy diaspora, particularly in countries like France, is giving more reach to the Malagasy hip-hop voice. This includes artists such as Oh Boy, who managed to make a name for himself in the French rap scene. Hip-hop music made its way into Malawi during the late 90s. Exposure to Black American hip-hop got many African countries interested in the genre, and Malawi was no exception. American icons such as Tupac Shakur, the Notorious B.I.G., Nas, Wu-Tang, and others from the Golden Era were highly influential, with their music inspiring young Malawians to embrace the genre's rebellious spirit and lyrical storytelling. Malawian hip-hop initially mirrored the style and content of Western rap, but over time, around the early 2000s, local artists began to blend their music with Malawian culture and languages, such as the Shishewa. many individual artists and groups started to make some noise, among which the Bantu Kamuladzi, one of the most influential in the country. During the 2000s, hip-hop in Malawi began to gain more recognition. Local radio stations and music television began featuring Malawian hip-hop artists, and hip-hop became one of the most popular genres, particularly among urban youth. In the same lane of the ones before them, many new artists made a name for themselves locally, such as Physics and others who, while embracing other genres, kept the core hip-hop sound and tackled sensitive themes for the Malawian youth. Such themes included critique of government policies, corruption, and classic challenges such as poverty, unemployment, education, and healthcare. Malawian hip-hop often embodies a spirit of rebellion against the status quo. During the late 2000s, early 2010s period up to today, many Malawian hip-hop artists got recognition for going mainstream, such as Young K, Tay Green, and the late Marx. Malawian hip-hop still faces many challenges despite its certain popularity, like national recognition or industry-related issues. Despite the challenges, the future of hip-hop in Malawi looks promising. The genre continues to thrive, particularly in urban areas, and as Malawian hip-hop artists continue to find innovative ways to blend local culture with global hip-hop influences, the genre will likely become an even more important voice for social and political commentary in the country. Hip-hop music was introduced to Mauritius through global media in the early 2000s. Early Mauritian hip-hop was heavily influenced by the sounds and styles of American rap, as well as the French rap scene from France and the Réunion Island. Mauritian youth, particularly in Port-Louis, the capital, and other urban centers, began to adopt hip-hop culture, getting into it not just for the music, but for its broader aspect of dance, fashion, and its whole energy. Hip-hop offered an alternative to traditional music genres and provided a platform for young people to express their identity and address the challenges they faced in a rapidly changing society. By the mid-2000s, Mauritian hip-hop began to evolve into a more distinct genre, with local artists beginning to integrate their own Creole language and cultural references into their music. As hip-hop grew in popularity, it became an important cultural force for young people, offering them a way to express frustrations over social issues, economic inequality, and political disappointment, and also to entertain themselves. Over the years, hip-hop music in Mauritius has been struggling to find its place, competing with other well-established genres such as Sega, reggae, and the fusion between the two, Sege. Despite the music not resonating with the people, other aspects of the culture such as graffiti and the hip-hop dances are well established in the country. Breakdancing and other hip-hop related dances are part of the youth culture, with many events happening every year. Despite the aforementioned challenges, the future of hip-hop as a culture in Mauritius is promising. Musically, the local scene is definitely not hip-hop influenced, and the hip-hop enthusiasts in Mauritius throw their interest elsewhere. But with so many aspects of the culture incorporated in young Mauritian lives, a door is opened for a cultural growth of hip-hop in the country. Hip-hop first emerged in Mozambique in the 90s, primarily through the influence of global hip-hop culture. Like many other African countries, Mozambique was introduced to hip-hop through the dominance of American rap, additionally to the music of neighboring countries like South Africa, where hip-hop had already gained traction. The genre began to spread among young people, particularly in the lower-income communities, who could resonate with the message and energy of hip-hop similar to their realities. By the early 2000s, Mozambican hip-hop had began to gain more visibility. Early rappers used languages such as Portuguese, Changana, and Ronga, as well as elements of traditional Mozambican music on hip-hop beats, starting to shape the Mozambican hip-hop sound. One of the early and most significant contributors to the Mozambican hip-hop scene was Azagaya, an influential rapper known for his socially conscious lyrics. The genre gained more popularity in the country, and Mozambican rappers began to perform and collaborate in neighboring countries, giving more reach to the local scene. By the 2010s, as the genre became recognized by more people in the country, many local rappers managed to gain notoriety such as Dama Dobling or Dias Caras. Today, hip-hop in Mozambique mainly remains underground. However, the youth in Mozambique continue to embrace hip-hop as a way to express themselves, and the genre is likely to continue to grow in popularity. Hip-hop was introduced to Rwanda through the influence of global hip-hop culture via neighboring East African countries like Uganda and Kenya, and the francophone rap scene from French-speaking countries. The genre first began to make an impact in Rwanda in the late 90s and early 2000s. Around the same time, the country was recovering from the 94 Rwandan genocide, a tragic event that shaped the nation's trajectory in the years to come. The 2000s saw the emergence of hip-hop in the country as local groups and artists were beginning to experiment with the genre. In the mid-2000s, Rwandan hip-hop began to gain more visibility, especially in Kigali, where a more organized urban music scene began to take shape. Due to the country's social context, the genre was used to tackle themes such as unity and reconciliation, peace, identity, and cultural expression. Rwandan hip-hop artists frequently incorporate local languages, particularly Kinyarwanda, the country's primary language, alongside French and English, creating a sound that can appeal to both global and local audiences. During this decade and the one that followed, some artists gained notoriety in the Rwandan hip-hop scene, such as the collective Tough Gang or the late J. Polly. As of today, the country's music industry continues to grow and develop, with an opportunity for hip-hop to follow that trend. The genre cannot be considered as mainstream yet and doesn't seem to be standing on solid foundation despite its popularity. The Rwandan underground scene is quite active and more young people keep embracing the genre, maybe setting the country up for a bright future in hip-hop. Hip-hop first arrived in Seychelles in the late 90s and early 2000s. As with many other parts of the world, young people in Seychelles were exposed to the music of American hip-hop and francophone rap, mainly from France. The genre resonated with youth who are eager to express themselves and often used it as a way to address social issues, youth struggles, and the evolving national identity. The hip-hop scene in Seychelles was initially small, with just a few underground rap groups and artists emerging. Much of the early rap music was influenced by the styles of American and French hip-hop, but was adapted to local context. By the 2010s, the hip-hop scene in Seychelles began to grow more organized thanks to the rise of social media platforms, offering easier means of communication and reach between the different underground scenes that kept the movement alive in the country. Local artists began to incorporate Creole lyrics into their songs, making their work more relatable to Seychellois listeners while still drawing from global hip-hop influences. Seychelles hip-hop community began to focus on themes relevant to the local context, such as economic struggles, education, youth issues, and identity. Fast forward today, the scene hasn't evolved much, with hip-hop in Seychelles staying relatively small and underground. Due to the cultural context of the country and its small population, the future of hip-hop in Seychelles doesn't look so bright. However, the fact that hip-hop influences from overseas still reach the local youth, and also that hip-hop is still a relatively young movement, can be motives of hope for young Seychellois hip-hop fans. The origins of hip-hop in Somalia can be traced to the 2000s, a period when the country was embroiled in civil war and political instability. During this time, many Somalis fled to countries in the Middle East, Europe, and North America, especially to cities with significant Somali diaspora communities like London, Minneapolis, and Toronto. It was within these communities that Somali youth first encountered global hip-hop culture, which became a way for them to connect with their identities, tell their stories, and reflect on their experiences. So the history of Somali hip-hop started with its diaspora. When it reached local audiences and Somali youth started experimenting with it, they progressively added Somali traditional music such as Danto and Burambur with hip-hop beats, and they began to make Somali poetry and oral traditions with rap, while being influenced by the hip-hop movements from overseas. During its first years, Somali hip-hop was relatively underground but definitely alive amongst the different Somali communities all over the globe. It's in these communities of the Somali diaspora that some started to emerge. Artists such as Kenan, a Somali-Canadian musician, gained international recognition in the mid-2000s. His success helped raise the profile of Somali music in the global mainstream, laying the groundwork for the acceptance and growth of Somali hip-hop. In the diaspora, Somali artists began using hip-hop as a platform to discuss issues like refugee experiences, immigration, identity struggles, and the challenges of life in exile. They often addressed Somali pride and resilience in their lyrics, seeking to preserve their cultural identity while integrating into new societies. In the 2010s, as Somalia began to stabilize politically and economically after decades of conflict, hip-hop began to find a stronger foothold within the country itself. Despite the ongoing challenges such as poverty, youth unemployment, and the influence of radical groups, we can only be optimistic for the future of Somali hip-hop. Despite its current state locally, as it is relatively new, it is part of its youth history thanks to its diaspora. Also, the fact that Somali hip-hop is still new means that many possibilities are still present. We can only hope that the genre will likely continue to serve as an important form of cultural expression and social change, particularly as Somalia continues to rebuild and modernize after decades of conflict. South Sudan is the youngest country in the world as it gained its independence in 2011. The country gained its independence after years of conflict and has been focused on rebuilding itself. Hip-hop in South Sudan is, as everything else, something new, despite the fact that hip-hop was present in Sudan for at least a decade prior, which explained the fact that South Sudanese were already familiar with the genre. Its impact wasn't established in the regions that would become South Sudan. As the country is literally building itself, it is notable to say that American culture is definitely present and is influential, particularly among the youth. It is logical that they adopted hip-hop, but the genre is still growing. The artists who experiment with it talk about the country's turbulent history and social issues, peace, unity, identity, and the longing for a better future. Hip-hop in South Sudan is in a particular place where everything is to be accomplished, regardless of the direction it takes. The result will definitely be interesting and worth checking upon. Hip-hop emerged in Tanzania in the late 80s and first gained traction in the 90s, largely influenced by the global rise of hip-hop in the US. As Tanzanian youth became exposed to rap music through television, radio, and cassette tapes, the genre began to take root in the country. Early pioneers were influenced by both American rap and local traditions, such as taarab and bongo flava. Tanzania's own fusion of hip-hop, Afrobeats, Arabic melodies, soul, R&B, and reggae, a busy genre. These influences helped shape the unique style that combined both social consciousness and local identity. Bongo flava emerged as a subgenre of hip-hop and is today referred as Tanzanian hip-hop. However, traditional hip-hop music is still being made in Tanzania, and a debate exists in the country whether bongo flava should be considered as its own genre. As artists of both disciplines are flirting with the codes, for the sake of this video, we will include both in one while keeping a fine distinctive line. Tanzanian hip-hop has addressed a wide variety of themes including social and political issues, cultural identity, or youth empowerment. Some of its key artists over the years are Professor J, one of Tanzania's most iconic and influential hip-hop artists who gained notoriety in the 2000s by addressing political issues before becoming a politician himself. Rosary, an energetic female rapper who gained notoriety in the 2010s. J Nako, a rapper who does both traditional rap and bongo flava. The Tanzanian hip-hop scene has grown over the years, influenced not only by the international rap scene, but also by the unique bongo flava, a genre which blends hip-hop, R&B, and reggae and the other genres we mentioned before, leading to a hybrid sound that is popular in the mainstream. Overall, Tanzanian hip-hop remains a dynamic and influential cultural movement, offering a unique blend of global influence and local identity. The genre continues to shape the music scene in Tanzania and resonates with youth across East Africa and beyond. Hip-hop in Uganda emerged in the late 90s and early 2000s, influenced largely by American hip-hop. As it gained momentum, Ugandan hip-hop got shaped by the distinct musical culture of the country, rich in indigenous rhythms and languages that fusion African sounds, reggae and dancehall, creating an upbeat and energetic hip-hop sound. The genre quickly found a voice among urban youth, particularly in Kampala, Uganda's capital, who were drawn to the expressive, rebellious and socially conscious nature of rap music. In the beginning, Ugandan hip-hop was largely an underground movement, with local artists rapping in English or Swahili and adopting international styles. Over time, however, hip-hop in Uganda became more localized, incorporating Ugandan languages such as Luganda, Runyankore, and Lusoga, as well as elements we have mentioned. Ugandan hip-hop is a powerful tool for social commentary, with lyrics often addressing a variety of themes like poverty, unemployment, inequality, and corruption, as well as the frustrations of ordinary Ugandans who feel disenfranchised with the political system. The genre evolved at a steady pace over the years and has cemented a spot in the local music scene amongst other genres. Some of the key artists of the Ugandan hip-hop scene over the years include Navio, one of Uganda's most well-known and successful hip-hop artists, TNL Zamba, known for his use of local languages and inspiring lyrics, and Fik Famika, who gained fame in the 2010s and is one of the main figures currently. Ugandan hip-hop has grown rapidly over the years, moving from a niche genre to a mainstream force. The future of Ugandan hip-hop looks promising as the genre continues to gain popularity not only within Uganda but also across East Africa and globally. Its fast growth leaves room for improvement in the local scene. Hip-hop first appeared in Zambia around the early to mid-80s due to the country's early access to American content. Tracks by US pioneer artists reached Zambia and the genre got adopted by the local youth as the music was played in clubs and discos. Some local songs from that time included elements of hip-hop here and there, and one that really stood out is one by the Rusiki brothers called Saturday Night. The track is a blend of hip-hop, rock and disco music and was a hit in Zambia and neighboring countries. We will have to wait for the 90s to have pure local hip-hop music circulating amongst the Zambian youth, and in 93, rapper Omar is said to have released the first Zambian hip-hop album, Your Love. During the decade, Zambian hip-hop started to get influenced by other African hip-hop music and started including these sounds to their own, like the South African Kwaito or the Bongo Flava from Tanzania. By adding their own cultural and traditional elements to the music, Zambian artists created a more distinct sound labeled as Zam Raga or Zaid hip-hop. The 90s was a prolific decade for Zaid hip-hop, with the rise of many record labels and hip-hop events contributing to its growth and the rise of future important acts. The 90s and early 2000s helped solidify the roots of hip-hop in the country, also thanks to the work of artists such as the Black Muntu Duo, Daddy Zemus and JK. Zambian hip-hop, like in many African countries, often serves as a platform for addressing issues such as corruption, poverty, inequality, unemployment and government policies, as well as more personal experiences. Thanks to a strong foundation, Zaid hip-hop evolved from the 2000s until today in a positive fashion. Many subgenres of hip-hop spawned in the country, and the genre is highly diverse both sonically and aesthetically. Many artists have gained recognition and continue to push Zaid hip-hop forward, such as Slap D, one of the most successful and influential Zambian hip-hop artists active from the mid-2000s until today. Cleo Ice Cream, one of the most successful female rappers in Zambia. Maki 2, a prominent rapper and producer. Chef 187, who blend trap music with other styles. J Cash or Sampa the Great, one of the most unique and prolific female rappers on the continent, and many more. Hip-hop in Zambia is at a good place. Considering its early history, the genre evolved to a point where it's a big part of the local culture, and after a boosted growth during the 90s and 2000s, the genre continued to grow but at a more stable pace. Zambian hip-hop has a promising future, and its scene is bound to become even more exciting and influential in the coming years. Hip-hop entered Zimbabwe in the 90s, influenced by the global spread of American hip-hop. Initially, the genre was underground, with artists primarily emulating Western styles, particularly American rap, and using English or a mix of English and Shona, the dominant local language, in their lyrics. During this time, hip-hop was mainly confined to urban areas like Harare, Zimbabwe's capital, where youth were exposed to international music through radio, television, and imported cassettes. During the mid to late 90s, music from neighboring countries where hip-hop was starting to evolve reached Zimbabwe, and they started to embrace these subgenres of hip-hop coming from countries like South Africa, Zambia, and more. Zimbabwean youth who embraced these styles experienced with hip-hop by giving it an upbeat energy, which was reflected by the music mainly made for entertainment in the early ages. The Zimbabwean hip-hop enthusiasts also used the genre to talk about other themes such as the state of the country and its numerous issues. During the 2000s and 2010s, the genre gained more popularity but remained relatively underground. A few Zimbabwean hip-hop artists who got some success include the likes of 10th Diamond, Stoner, or the female rapper Kiki Badass. Zimbabwean hip-hop has evolved significantly over the years. In its early years, the scene was dominated by underground artists and crews that would perform in small venues and on street corners. The late 2000s and early 2010s marked a period of growth for Zimbabwean hip-hop, with a wave of young artists bringing new sounds and lyrical styles to the scene. Today, despite facing challenges such as censorship, economic difficulties, and competition with other genres, Zimbabwean hip-hop remains a form of expression expression for the country's youth. Its future is not easy to predict, but will more likely take a positive direction. Comfortably sitting on my sofa, smoking, floating on this fine air, reflecting on storm. So far, I'm so far from where I come from, so far from it all.